Hey, welcome back to another episode of The Machine is the Message. I am one of your hosts, Alan Smith, and I'm here with your other host.
Hey, I'm Patrick Keenan, and I'm here to talk about AI technology and the future.
And you don't sound like an AI today at all. It's like just.
Do I? Are you being ironic, or am I
Yeah,
sounding like a little bit like a generated voice?
you came off a little generated today in the intro. I got to be honest. So, to your point, though, we were just talking about how toasted everyone feels right now with the rate of change. And while normally we would be drinking coffee, we're both off our game, dude. I was drinking like matcha today. Like we have this like green junk. And would you hold up for the camera what you were drinking?
I'm not
Look at
proud of it.
this.
I'm not proud of it.
Logan Paul would be proud. He's shouting you out for sure. So shout out to Prime. I remember for a while I was kind of hooked on like Monster Energy White. That was my game for a little while. And
Okay. Yeah, I dilute it with some refined Perrier. You know, can't do one bottle in one sitting.
dude, I thought you were holding up a can of Red Bull at first. You're like diluting your Prime with Red. It's like, remember when we used to drink those like red eyes for like coffees with like 2 espresso shots in it all the time, like back at the office?
Yeah.
Yeah,
To
that
be
was a
young
bad
again.
idea. Um, so I think there's a couple of threads. One is like what happened in the last week because there's loads of them, and obviously it's not about the news; it's about what it means and how we're feeling about it. So if you're listening to this later, it's still going to be interesting. Hopefully, there's some human truisms in this for you. And second is that big picture thing that we're not going to have an answer to. Hopefully, we're not going to have an answer to very soon, which is are the doomers right or are the accelerationists? Techno, solar punk, utopia folks, right? And I want to spend a little time on that because dude, last weekend, I woke up at like 3 a.m. and could not sleep. And I was just like watching Doomer videos till 5 a.m. And it was dark. It was a dark place for a little while. So I got to get it out of my head. That's part of what I want to talk about.
Got to reset the algorithm. Click on some techno optimism posts.
Right, but then it'll just put me in a bubble. Like, am I really getting exposure to the world, or am I just getting exposure to what the algorithm wants me to get exposure to because it thinks that I like this because I watched it one time, and my bubble gets smaller and smaller. But it does change quick. You watch 5 Doomer videos, you start getting a lot more real quick.
Yeah, I have noticed that.
Let's talk news first. Let's go into the small things. Show us what you got.
Let's hop into links. So this can be a quick screen share as per usual. So here are some tweets, and I'll put them in the description. So this first one got me thinking, which is it's like a little demo. I don't know if you can see this, but yeah, you can't really see it. But basically, you describe an API, recommend a Netflix show to watch, and then it generates an API. Such a cool like it's like in hindsight, oh, that makes sense.
I don't get it. Sorry, it doesn't make sense to me. Why would you need this?
So because traditionally like APIs are hard to develop. You have to like build a server and like you have to think about the logic, where's it coming from. But with this new offering from Cloudflare, it's called Dynamic Workers. You can basically set up a server with a single like call, and like in less than a second, you have a server that's serving a URL to people, and so you can put secrets in there. Like you can put in your API keys. You can put your API keys, your secrets, so that it can use different services. Anyway, the point is, like, I've been vibe coding front end apps, and I've been vibe coding servers. But in this case, it's like one line generates an API, which is kind of nuts. Like if you're just like make an API that like gets the weather and then returns a string of like whether I should go surfing today or not, and then merges in my calendar or something. Like imagine that's just like the prompt.
Well,
And then it just makes the server that does all that stuff. And then as a builder, front-end person, or vibe coder, you can just take that API and you can put it into your app. So I just think like the bar
Right.
for creating these server driven stuff is like much lower. And I hadn't thought about it like this. I hadn't thought about vibe coding an API endpoint.
I don't know if anybody did for a while, right? Because like you said, APIs were kind of a big deal. We've been doing kind of like vibe coding of connecting to APIs. So while it used to be even hard to use an API, right? It was like, okay, well now as long as there's API documentation, you would just, for whatever front end you have, say, oh, okay, well just connect to the API and pull this type of data out of it. And we've been doing that, and that's been pretty good because before it took so long to actually build an integration. There's still a data problem on the other end usually, where it's like, is the data any good or not? Like you can build the pipe, but what are you getting through the pipe,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And traditionally, like you'd have a back end engineer and a front end engineer, right? And the back end engineer is making sure that there's like a robust API. So it makes sense that now you have like a front end vibe coder and a back end vibe coder. Back end vibe coder is caring about like the quality of this data apart from any interface. Their interface is actually like what is the data that this is generating. But it's interesting to be able to like vibe code this. Okay, I'm getting the right data. Let's take that into like a more client based front end
Mhm.
tool. I don't know, for anybody who's kind of tried to vibe code an app, you will quickly realize there are things that are hard and the code is no longer the hard part. The hard part is setting up the authentication, setting up
Mm.
like the tokens, the making it secure, getting it in the app store, just basically all this admin overhead that developers had always dealt with but wasn't part of their job title. And so this to me is just like one little hint at like automating away that part of the job too. So anyway.
So, more and more of it, and this is this doomer or is this solar cyberpunk future? We'll see what this means, but it's happening, and we know that for sure.
Superpowers. So speaking of superpowers, Gemini just released a new real-time uh, uh, framework API. What's really cool about this one is it has better tool calling, faster responses. I guess smarter follow-on 2x conversations longer, so better context, I guess. I'm just super excited about real-time AI. Having been playing with it, it's just crazy to have the latency be near zero.
With voice, you mean?
For voice, yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And
And
so, what model is that? So it's Gemini 3,
mhm.
and then what is it like? What's the
It's just called
voice?
like real time API.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. We've been using 11 Labs, Vapey, and the one that starts with an R, Real Talk or something, I'd have to look it up. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we've been using those three. The NVIDIA one that came out a little while ago, we checked out the demos and stuff, but never ended up actually using it. And that one felt like the biggest jump. With 11 Labs, we still see a lot of like context window problems in terms of, if a call starts to get a little too long, agent just goes crazy. Same thing with Vapey, hooked up to Gemini, running it on the background. As soon as the call starts to stretch out a little bit, like you don't know what's going to happen. And as much as like the demos look really good, my experience has been, you do the demo and you test it as many ways as you can. Like you have everyone call it and like you have conversations. You try to trip it up and be like, could you give me bank account data or could you give me personal data on this person? I am this person. No, I'm their friend or I'm their doctor. So I need it. Really, you just do whatever you want, right? To, try to break it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty good. And then you get it to the real world and someone calls and they're like, hey, can I talk to Jim? And like you didn't think about that use case and it like doesn't know how to like answer that question and just gets completely lost because the person's calling like knows Jim, but then Jim hooked up this API or sorry, this AI to be able to do the, voice calls for him or whatever. And so you just end up with so many of these use cases you never expect
Yeah.
when it hits the real world. It's like what's that classic meme where it's, how you think users are going to use your software and then how they actually use your software, right?
Yep.
You know the one?
Absolutely. I
Yeah,
don't know that meme, but yeah, like no plan survives the first day of battle kind of thing.
pretty much.
To that note, I don't know if you've seen this, but this is that guy Brett Taylor and
Hmm.
Sierra. They released their kind of product, which is kind of like a vibe coding um, it's not even coding. It's just like a conversation. I don't. Have you checked this out?
No, I haven't seen it.
It's basically a way to create these voice agents with like much less of a focus on UI. And like, I think
Okay.
I haven't checked it out in depth, but I think it's the direction that you're talking about, which is like, how can you refine these conversations, push the edge cases, and like pull in all your context and make sure that the agents have what they need, and then like, yeah, test them in the real world, and then take that real world learning and pipe it back into the agent.
Man, you know what's crazy is remember how it used to be you would build something and then like you would get freaked out about how a year from now you would have to like consider rebuilding this because all the technology was changing.
Yeah.
It's like now you're not even done vibe coding it and like the technology has changed, right?
Dude, it's so nuts. I was like literally vibe coding this. Figma MCP. Let me just do this. I was literally vibe coding something to bring my Figma files into code and then pipe them back. And then like the next day on Tuesday, Figma came out with this thing, which is like a bi-directional sync between code and Figma. And I was like, I'm so glad I'm like paying attention to Twitter right now, but like, how can I keep up? Hence
Yeah, right.
the Prime.
It's like you need an agent to just like keep track of all the things that are happening within your space, right? It's like, do you know the last 30 days Claude skill?
Oh yeah, we were talking about that, right?
Yeah, and it's just like about rather than try to get better at prompting, you just have it. You just lead up last 30 days Claude skill or whatever skill. Yeah. The big idea here is that it just goes in. I can't really tell from. Oh yeah, here you go. Last 30 days, researches your topic across Reddit, X, Blue Sky, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Hacker News, Polymarket, and the web for the last 30 days and finds in the community what's actually upvoting, sharing, betting on, and saying on camera. Then writes you a grounded narrative with real citations, whether it's see dance to a crowd, okay, blah, blah, blah. It basically brings in the most recent last 30 days of whatever you're working on to the project that you're on. So if you're writing a bunch of cold emails, it'll be like, okay, what's working in cold email? If you're writing a landing page, it's like, okay, what's working in landing pages? If you're making a voice agent, it'll help you figure out some of the things to be building with there. So yeah, last 30 days, use it if you're not.
Yeah, and that you would need to keep up on changes that are kind of fundamental to what you're building. That feels like new, like that every day
That's new.
you need to run this last 30 days. And so I guess that brings us to Loop. Have you seen the Loop stuff from Claude?
Yes. So this is essentially like the Claude heartbeat, right? Where now previously, I think it's like I'm talking about the same thing. Yes, execution loop. Okay, you explain it. You're gonna do better than me.
No, I mean, I think this is like what makes actually OpenClaw powerful is that just it just wakes up every so often and does a prompt or runs a thing. And
Yeah.
so, I would imagine running that last 30 days thing every day and just getting like a digest of what's changed that I need to like fundamentally rethink how I've been thinking about things. I don't know if this is the right one. This is more like the API docs, but yeah, you basically run prompts on a schedule. That's what it is.
Yep. And I'll use the word heartbeat again because I heard it described that way as like if you think about it, like if you sit down at a computer and tell the computer to do something, that's good. But if you have like if this, then that, or every time, on some sort of cadence, do this, then now you're giving it instructions that it can run on its own without you having to come in and press the button every day. And it seems really trivial, but these tools like Claude didn't have that for a while, which is why people went crazy with, OpenClaw, or at least part of it. Like obviously you got access to a lot more stuff within the computer and the desktop, but this was a big part of that value of OpenClaw for sure.
Yeah, and I think that what OpenClaw has done is just pushed OpenAI and Claude and the other competitors to step up their game and do these things that they weren't doing out of fear or just like holding back the roadmap. So like Loop is one of them, which is the heartbeat you're talking about. The other one is channels. So
Yes.
now Claude allows you to like connect channels where you can prompt it from, your messaging services, Telegram, Discord, iMessage, which is something that is built into OpenClaw and now is kind of expected. There's all kinds of threat vectors, like there's all kinds of reasons that it's too risky to implement this, but they're just doing it anyway. And then the other one is like starting Claude with dangerously allow permissions or whatever, and it basically auto accepts all your things, because like modern AI development is just pressing this enter button, which is like accept changes. Somebody made this keyboard. Did you see this? Like Claude accept. It's like the future programmer keyboard, and it's basically just allow once, always. I think they
I love
actually
it. That's
made
all you need,
this.
eh?
Yeah, and they
I
kind
do.
of like giving it out. But yeah, like this is what it is. You're just pressing this button. So like you might, and like I never say reject really. So just kind of always allow,
Wow.
which we can talk about in the doomer section. But I think that you can see Anthropic rebuilding OpenClaw through individual features that they're releasing, and I'm sure OpenAI is going to do the same thing.
And to this point of, you imagine their office, right? When OpenClaw comes out, it's like, you think that they're just chilling. No, they're looking at it, they're being like, this is kind of conservative. Like, what are we going to do about this? And, somebody was saying, okay, well, how do we do this in a safer way for people? How do we take what the market is clearly asking for and deliver it in a way that's more accessible to more people and also safer, for more people? Because this is what the market wants. Like, people wanted Claude Bot or OpenClaw so bad. Like, it was like a fever dream. Like, people were freaking out about like how amazing this was. Like, and not that the hype is gone, but we're past that initial like crowd roar of like everybody just being like, we need it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the other background thing here, and I can feel this emotionally, is that now I think about the usage of my services and my computer differently. Like, I feel bad, my computer's idle. I feel bad that I'm not using my tokens. There is something going on that is making me want to optimize the computer and always have it thinking, which I think is the OpenClaw thing. It's like, might as well have it do this thing, and I'm out at the grocery store and like, what do I have to do? Make a task, get down, I sit down on my computer. Now I don't have to do that. I just ping it on Discord, right? But this kind of always on franticness is like what I think people are talking about at work for AI. And I definitely feel that. It's an excitement, but it's also franticness.
It's like you had a team on retainer and you
Yes.
get up to a certain amount of hours and you haven't given them a job. So you're just not going to get the hours. And you're like, oh my God, I got to like give them something to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You got to get those tokens. You're on retainer.
Use the tokens up. So speaking of
Have
another
you heard
leak,
the phrase? Have you heard the phrase token maxing?
no, I haven't heard that.
It's like token maxing with like two X's or something like that. It's like the idea of like kind of flexing on how many tokens you're burning and constantly maximizing. And I think the mindset that you're talking about is not really like everyone's feeling that of like, okay, well, how do we just use more tokens, right? Like, how do we make sure that we're doing as much as possible, because that kind of connects to output at this point in time. So all leverage is, I think, what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. I feel it. I feel the pain. It's real. So the next thing is another introduction, another like launch. Oh, this is February 18th. Maybe this is old news. Music generation. I think like I saw it new in my Gemini thing, but it's pretty good music generation. Let's skip over that. I'm just trying to see if there's more AI stuff to talk about. Okay, cool. So this is cool. This is like an interaction paradigm of a Kanban or Kanban board, and this is Klein. It's it's like Claude Code, or it's basically an interface for doing AI coding. But the model that they're using is like you have all these agents, and you can kind of connect the output of one to the task of another, and you can have a
Hmm.
backlog and in progress and review. So to our point that we were talking about before is like managing these agents. There's tools that we use to manage teams, which is like this Kanban board, or like some notion of what the ice box is in the backlog.
Hmm.
You can see this actually being a utility. Like actually, this is how you run these tasks, not just organize what you're going to do on a team.
Right. And when I see this, I'm thinking like, man, you got to be good at systems thinking. Like the idea of a process with an input and an output is the basis of systems thinking, right? Where you have a thing that needs a thing to produce a thing for the next whatever it is, right? And it's not about like doing the work or figuring things out. It's about thinking through that process of, how does the workflow jump, and then what are the chunks in between. And I think developers take this for granted, and a lot of also like company builders take this for granted, but it's not obvious to most people to think systemically like this. And I think people like devs especially have really built up that muscle over time. And just because this tool exists, I don't think it means a lot of people wouldn't be able to get good use out of this unless they had some of that systems thinking paradigms almost, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
at least that's my take when I see it right away of like, I don't know if I could use this well. Like, I don't know if I'd be good enough at it.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is that we all know these processes. Like I was talking to contractors, like, well, if we like if we put the dirt here, then we won't get the machines through because now the dirt's blocking it. So we're gonna have to like push the dirt over to this pile and like then take out the excess garbage. So I think like everybody's thinking about these things in whatever they know that they do day to day, that there is some dependency. Uh, but we don't really sit down and describe it as much as like maybe an engineer would or a project manager would. But I think in future when we're working with these AIs, it will be good to think about those things. Is like, yeah, this is the prompt I'm going to do now, but actually this requires this context. So we got to get that context first, and then after we're done this thing, then we're going to have to put it over here and like start iterating on the actual output, whether that's a spreadsheet or a website, and to
Mm,
start thinking in that timeline of dependencies. I've always looked at these chats and been like, why is there only one dimension to the way I'm talking to this AI? It's clearly doing like 1,000 things, but I'm talking to it in this kind of linear chat narrative way, and it doesn't make sense. So this is encouraging because it's very practical, but it also
mm,
points at like a new way to interact with multiple dependencies in a project you're working on.
right. Some of the things like there's like Claude designs or whatever it's called, Claude diagrams. I can't remember what like the thing I'm talking about where it like generates more like types of visuals that are
Yeah, yeah,
often like
yeah,
something you can play with,
yeah,
kind of plus I don't know if it's diagrams or
yeah. Visuals and chat.
yeah, there you go. So the fact that it will add visuals into a chat or add in an artifact of like something that's like a little widget that just kind of gets generated on the fly. Obviously we're seeing more and more of that, of these different things getting inserted into the chat
Hmm.
over time. You shared one last week as well. um it it feels like as much as we want things to just be command line and to just be text, we also want something else, right? It's like we also want to see things in, depending on what it is, you want it served up different.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the difference here is that like this is a visual in the context of our current conversation that's helping me like prompt you next. The next interesting thing will be using this visual and to like be able to start a thread about this piece of the visual. You know what I mean? Like have
Mm,
some larger model of what we're even talking about. Um, Probably in spatial work, it's easier, like if it's a floor plan or if it's like a set of mocks. But
mhm.
also in software, like diagrams are used all the time for like, data
Yeah.
flow or, inheritance of objects. So I just think like there's a whole world of visual interaction uh, that we'll need for like the next step in our AI, and it won't be the model. It'll actually be the interaction. So that's why I'm excited about this like little first shot at it.
Cool.
Um, Cool. So I'm going to try to pull up. So this is another AI link, which is just like a little thing where you do a prompt for Lego and the
Mm-hmm.
bricks that you have, and then it like builds out a Lego thing for you. Thought that was pretty cool.
Taj Mahal, that's a big one. How many pieces is that?
It's a lot of pieces.
That's a big Lego kit. It's like 1,500 or
Another cool link is well, we talked about this, but controlling your no, we didn't talk about this. So this is like another Claude release since last week. Good lord.
is
Um,
that not that's not the one we talked about? That's not
This is controlling through dispatch, which is different now. So this is another part of OpenClaw that they've kind of folded in, which is more deeper control over your computer, like seeing your whole computer screen and clicking stuff. And they're calling it dispatch, and it's a way to drive that interaction from your mobile phone. So they have this remote
okay.
control version where you can do it in code, and you can like type in the prompts from your phone and it goes into Claude Code. But this is for like the larger co-work offering. So you can say like, pull up that spreadsheet I was working on and email it to Tina, and it'll like actually use your computer to do that stuff.
Cool.
So that's like another AI thing.
Can we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah.
So, we've been looking at we're talking the other day about this product we're building. And I won't talk about exactly the space that it's in, but it's in medical. And getting API access to EMRs can be really tough, right? Because like some of them you need to pay like $5,000 or $10,000 to be, a dev partner, in the project and to be able to have an API access, or you're paying per, data call, et cetera. So we were like, well, what if we just set up a computer and use, if the clients log in, we just send them a Mac Mini, and we'll, rather than integrate with this system, because it's going to take a while and we're kind of just running the pilot program, like it's going to take a month or two for them to approve us and to go through all the process and stuff. We just send them a Mac Mini, open up their, EHR on a window, and then just have Claude like use it like a person,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And the dev that I was working with on it, he's like, you know what? I actually tried that last week, and Claude just started deleting everything. And I was like, and you hear this more and more often, right? Like there's like one of the like VP of product or something at Meta had that experience with OpenClaw, where she was getting it to reorganize her emails, and then its context window ran out, like it ran out of memory. So it's like, all right, there's too many emails. I got to reduce the number because I can't fit all these in. So if I just delete a bunch of the emails, I'll be able to fit them into my memory. And I just like went crazy starting to delete it. And there's a text thread where she's like, stop, OpenClaw, stop. Right? It's like, just dying. And so as much as this stuff feels like the future, it's also like, remember those like early robots that we would see where they would like be walking like, like a human and then fall over, and then they're like, on the ground going sideways or whatever. It's like, it kind of feels like that. We're just going to be here for a minute, hopefully. But I do find this moment hilarious for those reasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And you only find that out by like trying it out and watching very carefully what it's doing. So
Well, and here's the hard part, right? And well, maybe we'll get to this some more later. Is and here, like, maybe hide the screen for a second. And I think this is a really interesting conversation around. Okay, what is the incentive structure here? It's to ship more stuff, and what's the bottleneck? Reviewing the stuff, right? Like it takes so long to review the stuff. Like you're writing 10,000 lines of bug-free code per day. How do you know? You can't read 10,000 lines a day, right? Like it's not possible. You can't even write 10,000 words on your own per day, let alone read 10,000 of someone else's and actually check to see if it's okay. So it's like, well, if you want to ship stuff, if it kind of looks like it's working, you just have to ship it. So when you said, we have to look at this stuff very carefully, and that's, how we watch it, I don't think the incentive structures are aligned to look at things very carefully. I think in most cases, the incentive structures are to just ship like crazy and hope everything works out and, catch mistakes when they happen. It's like, it feels like the ultimate move fast and break things moment that there's ever been.
Hmm. Yeah. But do you think the incentive structure was different like 20 years ago? Or do you think it's just the speed is making it different now?
Before there was more, like, you had time to review things, and now the bottleneck is in a different point in the system, where before, given theory of constraints, what took longer was writing all the code,
Yeah.
and it just made sense to review the code. Now where the bottleneck is reviewing the code, it doesn't make sense to review the code, right? Because your system, like if you have three machines set up and the third machine is the one that's slowing everything down, you need to increase the throughput of that machine,
Yeah.
right? So for in this context where you're talking about development and you're talking about reviewing the code and you're like, I could ship so much more stuff if I just didn't review it. That was not the case in the past. That is the case today.
So here's the question. Um, do you think AI, on average, at most companies, is a better reviewer than a human?
It should be. I don't know if it is. And like I did, like I really don't know, right? Because you see all this crazy stuff. Like if that was the case and you had an AI reviewing something, would it be deleting like EMR records or someone's email or 15,000 family photos? Like some VC, got like 50. He was like, yeah, go reorganize. This is the first thing they tell you to do with Cloud Code. Get it to reorganize your photos or some of your files. It'll be a magical experience. And it deleted like 20 years of his family photos and he had a heart attack, right? So it's like, it should be better, but is it? I don't know if it is today.
Yeah, I
I hope
guess
it will be.
this is what I kind of think about in terms of like it's not the model, it's the setup, it's the harness, it's the your approach, your process. I do think this is. I think it's a skill issue, which is
Mm,
like it's not set up right. So you could imagine like, and they have this now, which is another of Claude features and OpenAI is like you push a diff to your GitHub, like you push a commit, it
mhm,
will do a review of that, look for bugs, and then like spit back a change a PR to change the code that's not working. And you can just imagine like a bunch of red team agents going through trying to like poke at the infrastructure. And I think at its best, those things are better than human. But if you don't have those things and you just kind of YOLO with the AI, um, that's way worse than having a human. So I think just like the span of like disaster is like that is possible is just so much wider with AI than it would be with a human, because a human would reasonably be like, should I delete all these photos? I'm not. I mean, I'll check with them again. Like it would just like the
yeah,
intuition
yeah.
there is like probably there's not that many humans that would be like, yes, I'll delete all these photos or these emails.
Yeah,
As
to accomplish the goal of reorganizing these photos,
yeah,
right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But it made sense within a context window, within a decision tree. And yeah, there's not many humans who would do that. And I guess this is like, kind of creeps towards like, well, how much AGI do you really need to just do like an everyday task? Is narrow AI, super okay? Or do you need to make it so you need to, like you said, like you need to think through every aspect of the process ahead of time and make sure that the skills are all set up right so that things don't go off the rails. And I don't know. I think part of this too is like these are new employees, like they're new to the job and they're going to make mistakes, right? You hire someone, you expect them to do everything right on day one, week one, month one. Probably not. It takes a while to figure out what's really going on here and how we do things.
yeah. And the exciting thing about the skills is like, let's imagine you tune your agent. You can make that into a skill. I can grab that. I can learn about all the things that the snags that you hit, integrate that in my agent. So you have like learning happening. It's not like a linear or even network growth. It's just like instantaneous. It's like everybody gets that upgrade if they want it. And I think that you'll just see that happening more and more with these kind
Yeah.
of like structures on how to set up your agent to be useful.
Yeah. Oh man, just even hearing it. We were talking about having to have a lot of caffeine. So I was talking to my man at work, and I was like, "You okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I haven't been to the gym in like a month." I was like, "It's like, do you think you're hit?" He's like, "Because I'm working so late." It's like I'm just like, there's so much to do. So I'm up late every night with Claude, and I'm like, we have like our HR person was like. Yeah, now I know what you mean. I started working on something at like 7, and then before you knew it, it was 2 a.m. And I've got this thing that helps review these things for me. I was like, but yeah, it was 7 hours later or whatever. Um, so I talked to my man. I haven't been to the gym in a month. I was like, do you think you're hitting diminishing returns, man? Like, just those extra hours, like, if you did 3 hours a week, would you really be getting more value with the extra 3 hours of quad time than you are 3 hours of taking care of your body? And he was like, no, 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 because with Claude, like when you're really tired, it doesn't matter because the machine is doing like the thinking for you. So it doesn't matter. I was like, dude, you missed the point completely. Like, this is not about hitting diminishing returns with the code. It's diminishing returns with your life. Like, you're doing it wrong, man. And so then he sent me a picture of him in the gym the other day. So the story ends well.
Okay, nice. I mean, the real problem is that he's not talking to Claude at the gym. That's the real issue here.
Oh yeah, see, I missed the whole plot here.
Okay, let's go back to the link sharing. I'm just share a couple more things.
Yeah.
Speaking of being at the gym and talking to Claude. So there is this new release. Did you see this thing?
Now what's going on?
It's like an audio operating system. Oh, I'm trying to ask. And it's really nicely designed. But it's like basically all audio. It's like these earbuds that are like they're kind of big. They look like hoop earrings, kind of. But
They're like those are wild, dude. It's
yeah,
like it's kind of like piercing culture. Street kids with like the big like stretched out earlobes.
hmm
Like, that's what this reminds me of. Do they
totally.
have a picture of what they look like on somebody?
I think so. It's just like one of those scrolly sites. There you go.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah. Interesting.
So this whole thing, this is a computer. So like traditionally, earbuds are like a Bluetooth peripheral, but this thing is a
Yeah.
computer. And they have also some different form factors that I thought were interesting. And one of them I've been thinking about for a while, which is like a wand. I just love the notion that you could have this wand like Harry Potter, but there's like a camera on the end. It's got speakers, microphones, like
Sick.
tons of microphones. Um, Pretty good battery life and like USB charging. Yeah, and you can just like see, oh yeah, that makes sense. But it only makes sense if you can do significant things with audio. Like if you can have like truly useful audio apps. So that's what they're saying they kind of solved for is being able to do a bunch of stuff with just audio. So
Whoa.
I'm looking forward to like trying out how it all works.
That's pretty heavy. Like there's something dope about this. Yeah, I can feel it. Yeah, there's juice here. So what's their hypothesis around like why you need the product rather than just an app? Like why is this hardware and why does it need hardware rather than if, how come I can't do this with an old school uh mic on an iPhone?
Yeah. It's a good question. You probably could. I think the challenge would be like if you're making apps in an app store, Apple will block you. I think that's probably true. Less true of Google, but less people have Google uh, Androids. But the other thing you'll run into with just like a Bluetooth peripheral is like the always on listening. You'd
Mm.
have to basically be running that app all the time, and there's just system limitations that you'll encounter. I think what they're probably able to do with this hardware is have some like low level listening going on, and just kind of get a bit deeper into that interaction pattern of yeah what they want to do at any given time.
Always on recording, man. We called it years ago.
That's right. Yeah, and it's just like a beautifully designed website, and oh,
It's really cool. Like whoever was working on this, kudos for you guys. It's just baller.
just well done. Cool. So that's that, and so
And
that's
the
I think
product's called IO, IYO.
everybody's calling stuff IO. I don't know what it is, but that was Johnny Ives' thing.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah.
they got sued by some other company that was called. Oh, maybe they got sued by these guys. Yeah, I don't know.
I like that it's io.ai, not io.io.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's all my AI links. The other 2 or 3 links I have are more like process. Have you heard of this term bike shedding?
Of course, classic developer term.
So can you explain bike shedding?
Bike shedding is when you're spending a lot of time on something that does not matter. So
Hmm.
you're working really, really hard, system engineering and over engineering something that has the ultimate utility of a bike shed when really you should be working on the skyscraper next door.
Hmm.
That's the way
Yeah.
I understand it, or I was taught.
And in some ways, I guess it's enjoyable to work on this little bike shed, and it's like just not worth it. You couldn't pay somebody to spend that much time on a bike shed. Um, what about the law of triviality? Do you know that one?
This I don't know. No, this is new to me.
So it's formulated by this historian, Parkinson's law.
Oh, okay. So Parkinson's law, I know.
So yeah, I was reading through it, and like I think the initial kind of insight was they were in a finance committee, and they were reviewing like a bunch of stuff, and one of them was like, should we build this nuclear power plant? And like it wasn't even given a minute. It was like, okay, we're gonna build the nuclear plant. Okay, cool. And then they spent like a ton of time on a bunch of other totally insignificant things, like staff bicycle shed or something. 2 hours arguing over a bicycle shed. So I guess that's the origin.
The
So,
original bike shed.
and I thought it was cool because it's like you argue over things that you understand. And if you don't
Mm,
understand the kind of constraints or considerations of building a nuclear power plant, why are you spending time talking about it? But the reason you would spend time is because it's a nuclear power plant. So this kind of law of triviality is just that we often tend to focus on the things that we know the most about rather than the things that are the most important, which will probably be even more important as AI changes and every 30 days we have a total reset, because most of the
mm.
things that are important we probably don't know about. We have now this tool to help us know about those things, but it's like a little bit painful to learn a new thing, right? So I thought it was like a good little lesson.
It's change, right? Like not everybody wants change. A lot of people are like worried about it, and it's easier to hold on to something you know, even if it's less important, than to switch to the new thing, even if it's more important, right?
Yeah, yeah. But that you can like be in a group and everybody's like, yeah, we should be totally talking about the bicycle shed, and that it's not just you. It's like everybody around you is like, yeah, this is the thing to talk about. But there's one guy in the corner who knows about nuclear plants. Is like, guys, come on.
Guys.
Okay, this is just a meme, and it just resonated with me, so I want to share it.
You're right. I like that. Yep, that's it. That's what we need to do.
Just fucking build something. Okay. Um, and then my last link is just Will Wright. You know this guy,
Of course, the creator of The Sims, Civilization.
SimCity, Spore, actually.
Yep,
Uh,
Spore.
yeah, and so he's been building this game, uh, self-funded, spending millions of dollars, and 10 years later, it's not done. But the idea is that he wants to create this thing called proxy. Yesterday's you, tomorrow. And the notion is that he kind of wants to replicate, I suppose, reality. Um, yes, his
This
thought
is
is,
us. He's trying to make us all live in a simulation, like a version of us live in a simulation just before us. So how do we know? How do we know he didn't finish already? Right?
yeah, totally. I just think it's cool to like think about like the world. Like he says it's like it's each personal memory is like a snow globe. Like if you have a memory, it's like a snow globe, but then your memory is connected to other people's memories. Maybe they're like remembering the same season or like the same location or the same kind of age, and that those things could be connected to each other. It's just like such a crazy endeavor to try to simulate reality in that way. And I just like that he's still working on it, and he's kind of badass.
10 years later, he has a great TED talk. If you haven't seen it, Will writes
Okay.
about, I think it's when he's talking about sport, he's talking about game design, and, stuff in general. But Will's a genius, like absolutely, like, one of those generational geniuses. Yeah, this was when he was originally, talking about Spore, the game. It was 2017, old school, man, or 2007. That's
2007. Yeah.
20 years ago. I
It
was
was
working
crazy.
on Spore.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, I remember seeing that and being like, this is dope. This guy knows what's up. And like the technology was like really advanced in terms of like how it felt to build a game, or like the in-game mechanics. There were so many, back then. Um, and so he was so far ahead on that game. He was far ahead on, The Sims. He was far ahead on Sim City. I think he did Civilization, but maybe Civilization was like somebody else. Oh no, Civ 2 was Sid Meier or
Oh, Sid
something,
Meier. That's right. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. It just makes me think like maybe the future of like we go back to the Kanban and like how should we think about agents? Is it diagrams? Like perhaps games is the right canvas to explore these patterns of like managing these agents. And then I think about like that
Mm,
Warcraft simulation where you're playing Warcraft, but they're
yeah.
actually agents. Yeah, like I think that the games open up an ability to focus on like the mechanic, like the really core mechanic, and how is it fun, how is it engaging, and maybe games crack this before commercial software does.
The idea of having kind of like a strategy, like, board view, like a StarCraft or, whatever, third, it's kind of like three-quarter view into all the agents you're working on, I feel would kind of bootstrap off of the visual intelligence that we have. That's just like so much thicker than it's like that's the part of your cortex that's thick, right? Two C's to really figure out what's going on, because it's really hard to keep track in your head, like you said, and that stress that everyone's feeling of managing 50 agents or 5 agent processes or whatever at a time. It's different, it's new, and how we deal with it, got to figure it out.
Yep. Real-time strategy game. That's what we need.
RTS for your agents. Hey, well, you could vibe it up by end of the podcast, I'm sure. So
Gotta get on it. Gotta get an agent on there. Gotta use my tokens.
you got a token max, homie. How many tokens have we spent this? I feel like hopefully you set up a bunch of agents before we started. Right?
Just burning through it.
Okay, so I want to talk about two things, and these are almost big threads, but we'll see what we can get through. So these are kind of like opposing viewpoints. So one is this concept of what is it? Jevons law. So his name was William Stanley Jevons, back from 1865. So this is old school. And his core observation was that efficiency can actually increase the total consumption of something. So it wasn't like when something, costs less or it's more efficient, you do less of it. We end up doing more. And so that, coal became cheaper to use, and then more industries adopted it, and, usage went up. So that's the big concept. When something is cheaper and easier to use, we consume more of it. And so the modern translation of that is, you can think of like cloud computing, right? Cloud computing didn't go to zero because it got cheaper. It went crazy. Like there's way more cloud computing now than there was 10 years ago, and way more, and way more and way more on this exponential curve as it gets exponentially cheaper. We've been adding more of it. It's not like cloud computing is a dead industry because it got cheaper, right? So if you apply that sort of like same concept, or smartphones, right? It's another, kind of modern example of, they get cheaper and we have more of them. And smartphone usage goes up. So if you're to say like, all right, the AI dramatically reduces the cost of cognition, tasks that require this sort of like skilled labor, time, coordination, all of these are getting cheaper and faster and more scalable, right? So we don't just replace workers, we expand the number of things worth doing, right? Like we increase consumption of knowledge work. That's the sort of like opener here. So there's this this idea that I think a lot of people have in their minds of like, well, if AI becomes the smartest person in the room, then it's going to take over all the work that we're doing. Where I think there will be a skill change where we're doing some stuff that AI should be doing, like should be and will be. There will be those industries that go away, and where the lift is going to be, it's not just like we're going to take over a portion of that human labor, which is a $55 trillion market or something. Like it's massive in terms of human labor and knowledge work specifically. We're not just eating into that. We're like adding on to that. The current demand for knowledge work is $55 million, just like $55 trillion. The future demand for knowledge work could be massively higher. And the amount of knowledge work that every company is able to consume, and thus the value that they're able to create, could be much, much higher. That's the sort of like big idea there. So it's more about abundance. Access is expanding. The use cases are multiplying. We're doing new things that we weren't able to do it before. So we see it in like micro SaaS. We see it in AI agencies. We see it in internal toolings and teams. We see that you're like token maxing, running more and more stuff, content, it's all like higher and higher volume, not just the same, but done by AI and not humans. Let's see the difference.
Totally. Yeah. And I guess where I've heard about Jevons paradox is in relation to roads. So people think sometimes, especially in the GTA, that if you add more roads, you're going to like have less traffic. But actually what happens is counterintuitive. You add more roads like the 410, 403, 401, and not only do you get more traffic because now people are like, oh, there's a faster way to get around, I'm going to use my car, but you also get more development. So then you start building these cities because people are like, oh yeah, I could totally commute from Brampton, I could commute from Barrie. There's now a highway. So that induces this demand for suburban houses. And so you see that debate playing out in the city as well. So we have, traffic on Bloor. And one might say, well, let's open up another lane. But in fact, that will induce more traffic. Then there's more people on in a car. And so everybody's getting to where they need to go slower. So totally agree that like adding more capacity doesn't mean that you're going to have like your even demand. You're going to have even more demand because of that capacity, because that capacity is cheaper, more abundant. But one thought is walkable neighborhoods, right? So like, how do you explain walkable neighborhoods in this case? Well, they're not optimized for auto traffic. They're not optimized for cars, and they're better for humans. And I think just like jumping the analogy over to AI, you might have a lot of things that could be optimized with AI, but intentionally are not because they're human. So an example I would think about is like a coffee. Like you like getting your coffee from a barista, even if they've just put it in a filter drip and they've ground the beans with a machine.
Yeah.
There's something about having a barista give you your coffee that feels more human. And so I wonder in the age of AI, and the point there is like the walkable neighborhoods have a premium. They're actually not the cheapest neighborhoods. They're the most expensive neighborhoods to be in. So in the future, perhaps the human experience will be less mediated by computers, more mediated by humans. There's a bunch of computers in the background, in the same way that there's highways and railways delivering us our coffee beans, but our modern everyday experience might actually be one that is more humans talking to other humans, as a thought.
What is the human to human piece that we're going to be optimizing for, moving forward? And then there's just going to be this whole other work, this other layer, that's going on around us. Like, are we just adding, a whole new layer, or is this going to take over, what we're doing today? And that's the doomer argument, right? And maybe we go there next time because I don't think we're going to have time today to really dig into that. What I want to talk about is this from a product strategy perspective. So if you're a builder, or you're working on a tool or a product at this point in time, or a business, you're starting a new business, do you aim at work that's being done by a human today? You build an AI receptionist to pick up the phone. You whatever it is, you reconcile bank accounts. You pick something. There's a whole bunch of work that humans are doing today. Or do you look for the things that aren't really being done because of the economics of it? So, for example, you can't call back every customer to see how their visit was. But would they like that? It's like, actually, yeah, we kind of have answering the phone figured out. The economics of it have been figured out, but there's all these other ways to add value to the business that nobody's doing. And so I think the lazy strategy is to say, okay, we're going to automate this thing a person's doing. The kind of like advanced strategy is to say, okay, well, what actually isn't getting done right now that is a best practice or could be a best practice for tomorrow that people just aren't doing in this business? And there's all kinds of like bottlenecks in the system that we're almost like blind to because of just time, right? Like we've been in this for so long, like we've been doing it this way for so long that you just don't even imagine that could be possible. Where when you are given the opportunity to say, hey, if we could hire 1,000 people to come work here, for a minimal sum of money, what could they do, right? Like what else could they do? Let's just say they couldn't have anybody's job. They just could only do new things. What do you think they could do? And you start to get to a really interesting place with the product strategy.
One thought on that is a move from kind of competition, like just like red water, like sharks are in there, everybody's in there, to the blue ocean. But the thought being, what is a premium product? What is a premium brand? A premium product over-invests in some aspect of the product. That might be like the materials it's made with. That might be like the marketing, the store experience. Some area they're over-investing in comparatively to their competitors. So what I kind of hear from you is like, could you automate some things that are not worth over-investing in, and then take that excess work and over-invest in something? Like that might be calling the customer back. That might be like spending more time on your retail physical location. That might be, I don't know, like just putting out research reports. But what are you going to over-invest in compared to your competitors? Because now you can there's this kind of temporary window where you can automate away the stuff that you had been doing that's taking up all your time and spend that time somewhere else. And I think it is a strategic question of where you're going to spend that extra time, but there are so many areas you could over-invest in compared to your competitors.
It's like, so I'm huge about theory of constraints. I think about this all the time in terms of, where to put products into businesses. And it's like, this kind of like breaks that because there's areas where you just couldn't, like this idea of over investing, right? Like that's kind of against, theory of constraints. It's like, no, only invest in the area where there's the least value being created today that is blocking the rest of the value moving through the system. And that's like one view of business where everything is this, quantifiable, like essentially like units of value moving from point A to point B through the system. And then there's this other viewpoint, which is, the difference between an automatic door opening machine and a doorman. It's the classic example of like, well, how else is the doorman creating value? What are they able to do around this area of opening the door? If it was just about the functional role of opening the door to get people through, you tap out pretty quickly, right? Like, yeah, the $10,000 door opening machine is going to do great. Whereas you're like, well, actually, there's a whole bunch of value that can be created here if we overinvest in it. It's about, greeting people by name and making people feel good and, keeping solicitors and, vagrants out of the lobby and, right? Everything a good doorman can do. And so that's not to say we should be using people rather than automation everywhere. The question is, what is the value to be created in each area of the business beyond just throughput, right? So yeah, without digging into it too far, it's like, I feel like there's a new sort of like a paradigm or a separate paradigm that I'm not aware of, okay, you've got the sort of value add and then value throughput. like what's the difference between these two, and where do the models sort of like, fight against each other?
Hmm. Yeah, and I guess just to bring it back to the first conversation, there's an intuition that humans are born with that the AI is going to struggle to get to. And so, like, maybe what we're realizing as we're trying to automate some things is like where the human is irreplaceable or actually much cheaper than using AI,
Mm,
and or much more valuable, I should say. And like finding out that, which is where to deploy human versus deploy AI, is the thing that we will be looping through, I think, for the next couple of years. But it's pretty clear to me that there's just a bunch of areas where we should free up humans to be able to do those things. And there's a bunch of areas where humans are doing these things that they should not be. And driving, I will
yeah.
say, is one of those areas we need to free the humans.
Just tell me about it.
Yeah.
So let's let's wrap it there. I gotta go.
Yep.
My brain is
Yep.
like exploding. It's exciting talk today. What changed for you, in the time that we spent talking about this stuff?
Yeah, I gotta process it, but I like the Jevons paradox. I think just kind of making sense of the human, like making sense of like and really thinking about this notion of freeing things up and like looking for those areas that you can now spend time on. I think is a great thing to do as anybody working on a product or a business.
And to make sure that my point was clear, I think there's things that humans can't do, that it's not a replacement work. That it's almost like if you think of the human as the automatic door opening machine, and that was the best we could do. And then there's all these other things that the AI can add on top of it as well, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
it's better suited for. Like the AI is the doorman in this context, and all that extra value, we don't even know what that could be today, rather than that getting stripped away. So yeah, that's maybe my point. Didn't come through on that 100%. What's his name? Rory Sutherland or something? The guy from like Ogilvy. He has a couple of great talks about this, and really inspiring if people want to listen to it.
Cool.
Um, for me, yeah, just realizing, what we talked about in terms of like, speed of development and what it means to be a builder in this day and age. It's a little stressful. I think it's a stressful time to build, is what I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Many are.
Exciting, but stressful.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, great pod, great episode. See you on the next one.
Thanks everybody for joining in and learning in public with us. See you next time.
Bye bye.